I've been talking for a bit now about the importance of recognizing the body, of recognizing your physical body when you present. We really are creatures that like to divide our bodies and our minds as if the two aren't interrelated, but of course they are entirely interrelated. And when you're on stage presenting or at the head of a conference room table, you really feel your body. So I know that Quentin, we're lucky to have Quentin here because she knows something about using the body instrumentally and operationally. And I guess I'd like to talk to you, Quentin, about the importance of stance. What is your thinking about stance in a high pressure situation? How do you use stance?
Well, you have to use stance, and you can use it as a metaphor for being ready for anything that you're doing, any kind of exchange, debate, fight on the mat. But you have to be well-grounded, well-balanced, but also light and flexible. And then from your stance also, I would say that your movement has to be intentional. So sometimes when you're working with maybe a younger fighter, a newer fighter, they're moving out on the mat and they're moving around and everything, and they're getting really, really tired, and they're giving you all kinds of tells, and you can hit, it's really fun. You can hit them whenever you want to. But as you become a more and more expert fighter or more and more expert debater, everything you do is intentional. So you're not sitting there giving a talk, rocking back and forth, or jiggling your foot over and over again. You fuse the mind and the body so that you're aware of yourself, and your body becomes a part of what you're presenting.
I want to break this down a little bit. How do you know when your stance is stable? What is your feeling when you're creating that stable stance?
You can move any direction you want to at any time. So your balance is perfectly equated, or maybe a little bit more on your back leg, but I can move forward, I can move backwards, I can move to the side. I'm not trapped. That's the key.
Well, when you mentioned that younger fighter who's kind of moving around too much, wearing him or herself down, doesn't that fighter think that he or she is moving, able to move in any direction? What would you say to that fighter about becoming stable and balanced? How do you move that fighter from that position to a more grounded position?
It's a constant honing of the unnecessary, right? And so it's an acknowledgement of what the extraneous movement might be. You're about to punch and you pull your hand back instead of pushing it straight forward. That's much more efficient motion, right? And so it's a constant work of honing the extraneous and practice and getting comfortable with what you're doing.
So it's an interesting analogy, martial arts and delivering a presentation, and in many ways, obviously, they're different, right? But I think that the reason they work is both are adrenalized situations.
Yes.
Both are situations where you're on,
Yes.
and you don't get any undos, right? You can't on your computer hit that undo option and just do over.
That hit didn't count on my head.
One thing that I've found when I coach speakers is that a very simple stance really just has your back foot here and your front foot about a foot forward and at a little bit of an angle. A little bit of an angle inwards. Some people angle outwards. I find that opens you up a little bit too much, but a little angle inwards. And that, as Quentin said, you put a little weight on your back foot, but you still keep that front foot planted. You're not all hopping. That is a very stable stance, and I've seen it relax people simply in one go. I remember I was coaching one young woman, and her feet were parallel, and they were bouncing like this. She was so nervous. And then I said, well, put this foot here, put a little bit weight here, and she just sank into the floor. She had this grounded, structural stance, held her right there. And I think if she were in a combat situation, she could have moved more quickly from it.
I think, well, what you're essentially talking about is a fighting stance, right? And I don't think that we should come up with this idea that we're under threat when we present, but it is, as you say, an adrenalized situation where you want to feel comfortable and stable and agile all at the same time.
You want your stance to be comfortable, stable, and agile all at the same time. And it takes a little thought beforehand and a little practice beforehand. Really just in front of that mirror. Stand there. Relax yourself. Feel your weight on your feet. Take the ground in. If you do that a couple times, it'll benefit you when you're in the moment of engagement.